All right, guys, welcome back to the Loan for Cards podcast. I have a super special guest today. Our podcast is going to be talking about how he was straight for 20 years and now he's coming out of the closet to show his homosexuality. His name is Oscar, my one of my best friends here. Welcome to the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you. Definitely appreciate the news brief. And tell them that you currently are my recent girlfriend.
Obviously, that was a joke, guys. Yeah, so I know him for a pretty long time. Like, I have I picked him to come on, just to talk, just to have a little fun podcast, and we go way back. We go way back till like when I was like 13 years old, and we did some crazy ass stuff back in the day. We went through a lot of stuff, and he's the first guy, as you can see him right now, like he has a full beard. Technically, when he was 14 years old, he can grow that beard in like within like 12 hours. So he was like the
True
only
story.
only teenager that I knew that has more hair than a full grown adult does. So as you can see, like that beard probably took him about a day to grow it. He's a pretty hairy guy, So yeah. So I remember like first meeting him, and I was like, dude, this, and I'm like 13 years old. We're collecting, baseball cards and everything. And I see this dude. I'm like, dude, this is this guy like 26 years old, like, hanging out with these 13-year-old, 14-year-olds collecting cards. And I was like, oh my God. And I found out that he's only 14 years old. I'm like, dude, are you serious right now? But yeah,
You know what's so funny about that is ever since I was about 14 or 15, people would think I was about 20.
exactly.
All the way up until about like 25, people would still think I was like 20.
Yeah,
So it's crazy because for about a 10-year span, from about 15 to 25 years old, most people thought I was around 20, 21.
exactly. The craziest thing is like I remember like so clearly like when you were 14 years old and we used to hang out, you dated a 20-year-old girl, right?
Was that Christine?
Yeah. Don't say names. Don't be dropping names.
I didn't say last name, no
Yeah,
last
okay, yeah,
name.
yeah. That's the craziest thing. Like, and when we think this is like back in the 90s, right? So when you think about it, she straight up like this is like child molesting. It's like, dude, you got child molested when you're a kid.
You know what's funny is I don't think that in that situation, and let me give it a little bit of context.
Yeah.
So I was 14, I think,
Yeah,
14 or
14,
15.
14. You're 14.
Yeah. My sister is 2 years older than me, and she worked at this like retail chain. And so my sister made a friend who also worked at this retail chain, and she happened to be 19. And so I happened to be around her often because my sister brought her around. So that was kind of the backstory. But I think we dated, and you might remember better than I did. I think it was almost a year, maybe like
Yeah,
eight or
it was the whole summer for sure because we were on summer
mm,
break, and then we used to hang out
mm,
all the time like during the whole summer with them. And I was like, and then back in the you think about it, we don't think about that stuff, and then now like we're older
mm.
and we're like, holy smokes, you really got child molested like when you're a kid.
Yeah, what's crazy is not one time, and I don't. Here's what's amazing is now I'm 40 in my 40s, and I can't believe I never, not once thought about it until you just said it.
Yep.
I was, I was child molested for a year. In jail. That's
That is
crazy.
crazy. And then the funny thing is, you did mess around with some other girls that older during that time too. So,
Uh, I think yeah, there
yeah.
was.
Don't
I
say
think
names.
Jenny was 19 as well.
Don't say names. Don't say
No
names.
last. I didn't say last name. I didn't say last
Jeez,
name.
that's
Wow, Jenny was before Christine, and she was also 19.
yeah.
That's crazy. Those are some funny memories.
The funniest memories that I have with you and our other buddy Doug is during the night times. Remember, we used to do like midnight Taco Bell runs,
Yeah.
and we would go to like the Payless or the CVS now. I think it's called Payless. Before we used to take the
Mm.
flowers in front of the thing. We're like incriminating ourselves right now, but that's back in the day. You can't really blame us on
Dude,
that.
there's no incriminating. Doug and I don't know if you remember, but Doug and I went by CVS or whatever the
Yeah,
heck
yeah,
it was.
Payless, whatever it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had the roses outside, and we're stupid 16, 17-year-old kids. We're like, hey, let's go grab a bag of. Now, keep in mind, guys, these flowers were like, I think $3 or
Yeah.
$4. So we would go grab them and be stupid kids and just waste them. So what happened is at this store, there was literally a sting operation going on because the management of the store was stealing from the company.
Oh.
coming at 2, 3 in the morning and stealing stuff from the store, loading it into their truck. So Doug and I'm sure you remember this. You
Mm-hmm.
can't not. So Doug and I would do a stupid thing. We go to the store, we grab a bunch of flowers, and literally we're just, woo, cops, and we're just like, wait a minute, what the hell is this? We're like 15, and we go to jail for stealing flowers.
That's so funny.
I guess we didn't go to jail.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
invested in a ticket. I forget.
Yeah, you got a ticket or something like that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we used to do wild things back then. We used to play midnight basketball a lot of times. We used to go around and look for basketball courts, hoops at nighttime. Just to very little light. If we just had a very little light, we'll go play basketball. Almost like every single day, like during the summertime. That was so awesome.
Yeah.
Like it was so fun.
Basically, until we got kicked out, we'd look for like
Yeah,
businesses that
business.
would have
Yeah,
a basketball hoop, and they're like back, business park, and then we'd go to one spot, get kicked out, go to another, get kicked out.
yeah. I remember like we used to do this like till like 2 in the morning, and like really
Mm.
late at night. And we're
Mhm.
like kids.
Yeah.
We're like 15, 16-year-old kids, like going out and
Mm.
finding these dark places to play basketball. We're not worried about getting kidnapped or being in fights with gangs, nothing like that. I mean, I think the areas that we lived in wasn't too bad anyway, so we didn't
Mm.
really have to worry about that stuff. But yeah, that was really fun. Like I miss those days. Like now these days you can't do that. Like too many people worry about too many things and too many security now
Yeah.
everywhere, and the
Yeah.
businesses like it's all over. So but yeah, so me and him, like we like collected cards back in the
Mhm.
day, and terminology collecting cards and investments. Back in the day, it was only mostly collecting. We
Mhm.
never we never thought of like investment. We always thought about collecting, and eventually the card will go up and will sell or trade. But nowadays, the card market these days is more like investments. It's all about
Yeah.
buying Zion's and Giannis's and Patrick Mahomes cards just to buy them and to flip it to pretty much resell it.
Man,
So
I heard something today. If I could just kind of interject real quick,
uh
I heard something today with a buddy of mine that absolutely blew me away. So I haven't been checking prices as of the last few weeks or so, and these are rough estimates, right? So it's what, January 14th,
yeah,
2020. I heard Zion Prism Silvers are going for just about 400, and this is all raw. This is all raw.
yeah,
Zion Prism Silvers are going for about 400. John Morant's going for about 200.
mhm.
Tyler Hero,
Hero,
or right about 40. And RJ Barrett is going for like 35.
yeah,
I don't know what the market is thinking. RJ Barrett is legit. He is the number 3 pick. He's from Duke. He's 19. He's had some huge monster games. I could go on and on and on. And he's selling for 10%
yeah.
of what Zion is and less than Tyler Hero. Dude, that's like the steal of the year right now.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's all about the hype. Like Zion hasn't played a game yet. He's gonna play in a couple of days, the first day, and then his cards. All the blasters, prism stuff that you can find at Walmart and Target, things like that. You can buy for 19.99, and you see people pulling silver Zions, and it's pretty crazy. You're like, holy crap, $20 blasters, and you can get it. So the base cards are actually making sort of like a comeback, really. Like any of the Prism basketball stuff is really hot, and yeah, it sort of blows my mind on like how the price differentials are for certain players that you can see a player that scores 20 points a game but still gets no love. It's just like it's just about the hype. People want to follow the bandwagon and hype things up.
You know what
And
it is? I don't know if you've ever noticed this. I've talked about this with a couple of other friends. It seems like, and even Giannis, right? Even Giannis and even Kawhi and Giannis, if we're talking basketball, even early in like their first year, so they weren't drafted that high, right? They weren't the top 5 or 10. I think what Giannis was like 17 or maybe 12. Anyway, they were both lower. But real quick, people started talking about this guy's the next big deal. So something happens when they get like right into the league, or when people start to see them develop like just a little. And if you get kind of like anointed, like you're the next big thing or you're the next big deal, then it kind of happens so fast. Whereas like Bradley Beal comes into the league. Since his rookie year, he's scoring 17, then 23, 24. And his cards were tiny, incrementally slow because he has not been anointed the man. He's not that dude. But if you're Giannis, and Giannis is great,
Yeah.
or Kawhi, you get the idea. Like once you've been given that kind of title, it's hard to shake unless you're Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing of the two thing factors I think on Giannis and Kawhi, they did not come up. They did not start blazing. It took
Yeah.
them 3 4 years. Like Giannis, legit took three
What?
years for him to
Their
start to
cards
go.
were so, how do I make this make sense? Like Kawhi and Giannis specific, and Giannis more than anybody, but
Yeah.
his cards were so out of whack price wise for what he was doing at the time, meaning his like first and second season. So you're right, they went up a lot. Giannis has always been overpriced or highly priced. Let's
Highly
say he's
priced.
priced high. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was I think for Giannis it was the anticipation of him being good and his cards being high, but
Yeah.
sort of like then once he's got to that level, then it just went like his
Yeah.
prisms, like his silver prisms, like were like 15 20 bucks, which is still a little bit high for a guy that only does 10 points a game, and all of a sudden it goes to like 1,000. It's like what how did that happen? But it gradually started going up and things just blows up. Yeah, card market is really crazy. You really can't predict like guys, especially the worst is like baseball. Like I still blows my
No, the
mind.
worst is football. The worst is
Well,
football.
worst is football, but baseball, I think a lot of people lose a lot more money on baseball because all the hot
Yeah.
prospect that comes out, all the first round picks, like the last year's first round pick guy, his super factor went for 20 G's or something like that. You're like, really? Like, why? Like
Yeah.
he hasn't played a game yet, and he's not gonna play a
Right.
game for another 3 4 years, or he might
Right.
never even play a game. So you don't know how he is. The anticipation of all the baseball rookies, the prospect is like so crazy, and they have all this hype of all the new Bowman draft comes out, the new Bowman Chrome and stuff like that comes out. People will just go crazy and they want to get all these guys, and they spend tons of money and they flop. You're like, oh, good, we lost a whole bunch of money, but collecting
You,
work
you know
is
what's
weird.
happened, Sung, is if you remember, like when we were growing up, right? There would be hype like on a couple of guys. There might be, and I remember we were in high school when the internet just came out,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Two websites to go to for information,
Mm-hmm.
USA Today or what was it, USA Base, whatever the heck it was. But the point I'm trying to get at is now with so much media, with so many outlets for information, with so many websites, with so much news, there's so many different prospects that get, hyped or whatever. And here's what's so funny, and you and I figured this out 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that will get hyped are guys that will make it to the majors and bat like 260 and hit 18 homers and 70 RBIs a year for the rest of their career. And you want to know what? That is a damn good Major League
Mm-hmm.
Baseball career if you can
I
average,
appreciate it.
right? But the point is as collectors, as investors, as whatever, we hear like this guy's definitely going to make it to the majors. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Their cards go freaking
Mm-hmm.
astronomically high.
Mm-hmm.
They come in about 270 with 20 home runs, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're not the next Mike Trout." It's hilarious, and it happens every year
Yeah.
in every rookie class. It's just the same thing over and over.
Yeah, that's why it's so hard. And then the worst thing is nowadays, like if you want to invest in a prospect, like a third round prospect, oh he might be good from the Rockies, his autograph rookies are like $100 already. You're like, what? Like how am I gonna invest in this guy? So you have to buy his base Chrome cards, and they're like $5 6 already. You're like, how am I gonna invest in this dude? So it's sort
Yeah.
of it's really harder on the baseball side of things, and it's a little bit more harder to predict in baseball than is say like basketball and football and things like that, because right off the bat, especially like in football. Well, football's like the worst one. I don't want to compare it, but basketball, summer league, right? Summer, you have to have summer league, so if they're gonna produce or they're gonna be in a team. Summer league is a good like minor league before they go to G League or they're gonna play. So it's yeah, it's the collecting is really hard, and you have to differentiate between collecting and investment. A lot of people say I'm collecting. No, you're an investor, because you're gonna sell this once the price goes up. You're not gonna collect because who you actually collect. People collect stuff that's really old, vintage stuff, and they just want to hold on to it. That's really collecting. Or you collect like Donald Cerrone cards, base cards, because you're a collector. You have UFC collected. You want to collect cards. You're not gonna try to buy Donald Cerrone and have him become a superstar, which possibly he could if he beats Conor McGregor and he becomes another superstar. Then all his cards are gonna go up, So like like a Conor type of thing. But if you're actually a true collector, you want to buy his base cards and stuff like that. Like other people just buy Conor McGregor cards because he's so hyped now. I'm gonna sell this $5 card for 20 after he wins and blah blah blah. So it's the card collecting market, investment market is really high and it's really hard. I guess you can say more than that, but yeah. Speaking of
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the card market has been around for okay over 100 years, but like real buying and selling and big money, I would say probably since like the 80s. So what we're talking about roughly 40 years or so. The one thing that has become a constant, and I think Warren Buffett said it right: if you want to become rich in stocks, just invest in blue chips. If you look at the top cards of the I mean, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, even dude, if I'm not mistaken, I think a Joe Montana rookie PSA 10, and there's barely any of them out there, but I think a PSA 10 goes for like over 200 grand. Maybe it's 20 something.
20
Maybe
20,000, like 15 to 20,000. I want to say, not
okay.
not 200. Yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah,
But the whole point that I'm trying to get at is the top guys in the top sport and the top cards in the top condition will always do well. The problem is the new people who come in and put all the money into the people who aren't going to pan out, the
mm-hmm.
people who are going to drop. Those are what make make this seem like it's a harder, way to it's a harder thing to judge or a harder thing to invest in. But dude, it doesn't matter if you bought Curry's since day one, or
Mm-hmm.
LeBron since day one, or Trout since day one, or Brady. I said Browdy.
Rowdy.
Tom Brady, or you get the idea.
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers. If you're buying the top cards at the top grades, you're gonna do fine.
yeah. All those guys are solid because those guys you mentioned is pretty much. I want to say, like, even those early, Steph Curry is a Hall of Famer to me, like hands down.
Already, yeah.
And obviously LeBron is, Tom Brady is the goat. So let's talk about Tom Brady. Do you think Tom Brady is the goat? Is he the best quarterback of all time?
It depends on what you're talking about. And I think this is the problem when you discuss these types of things, right? Are we talking about, and I think you and I have had conversation in other ways, but are we talking about, is he the most accomplished? Because you cannot dispute that. There's no conversation. Is Tom Brady the most accomplished quarterback ever in the NFL? Yes. Did Tom Brady have the best skill set of any quarterback to ever play in the NFL? I don't think he's top 10.
Okay.
So I think, if you take Bill Belichick out of the situation, you take the Patriots out of the situation, I think Tom Brady's career is entirely different. Now, does he win 0 Super Bowls? Does he win 1, maybe 2? I don't know. But again, is he the most accomplished quarterback? You cannot dispute that. But Peyton Manning was better. Drew Brees was better. I could go on and on and on. There's a bunch of quarterbacks that were physically. Aaron Rodgers is better. That are physically, anyway, physically or statistically or whatever, better. He just had a better career.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that topic always come out. But the follow up question is, who's better, Tom Brady or Joe Montana?
You know, I think because of the way the NFL is now, okay, if I'm answering the question, objectively, it's got to be Brady. But I really feel like they're almost like the same guy in two different eras.
Okay.
I feel like what LeBron James is today, Michael Jordan was, 30 years ago, and what Tom Brady is today, Joe Montana was 30 years ago. So, Brady's better, but again, they're kind of like bigger in a different era.
Okay. I always like to tell that to the 49er fans a lot of times, and a lot of the 49er fans always go Joe Montana nut hugging a lot. And like, I remember back in the day, like I was always say, Tom Brady is GOAT. It's like Joe Montana has more Super Bowl rings. Oh, you want to go there? So I waited until Tom Brady caught up, but Joe Montana never lost a Super Bowl. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let's wait until he wins another one. Oh, now what about now? Oh, still he has Joe Montana has the best postseason stats of all time. So they will always make an excuse for Joe Montana, because they love him so much. But statistically and everything else, I still consider Tom Brady as a goat. And speaking of Tom Brady, man, what about the Titans? Titans taking
Ooh.
out the Patriots, and now they destroyed the Ravens. What is
Pretty
going on?
fascinating. And it seems like it's almost all Derrick Henry.
Yeah, all Derrick Henry for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nuts.
They had a pretty amazing run. I mean, if you look at the teams that are left, Green Bay, the Niners, Tennessee, and
Chiefs.
thank you, Chiefs. I'm gonna guess almost everybody had the Chiefs going 5-11, 6-10.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me, the Titans. Everybody.
Titan, yeah.
So, you look at the other three teams that were there. Actually, let me take a step back. Nobody expected the Niners to
Oh
be.
no, nobody.
The Niners didn't expect to be here. So, I live 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes from where the 49ers play. But I'm a New York Giants fan, so I'm a hater. I'm going to Tennessee Titans. I hope they win. I hope they take it home.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, the game. I mean, just the NFC Championship, the Packers and the Niners is going to be a crazy. I think who wins that is going to win the Super Bowl. I really feel. I mean, Chiefs, of course. You can't count them out. But if the Titans beat the Chiefs, like I sort of want to root for the Titans. Like
Yeah.
if they go to the Super Bowl and they face the Niners or the Packers, I don't care who actually wins. But if the Titans make the Super Bowl and beats the Chiefs, dude, hand it to them. Just like hand it. They beat the Titans beat the best teams. Like literally, they are the three best teams in the NFL.
I like to take a look at the quarterback situation and kind of who has the most to gain or lose. And you look at Aaron Rodgers, and he's kind of been criticized a lot for he's been called one of the greatest ever. I think he's 1-1 in the Super Bowl, so he's got one. So if he could get that second Super Bowl, that's just huge for him, and that actually puts him kind of in that next tier because there's a lot of quarterbacks who have one Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer.
He's the greatest than most of this quarterbacks because he has a Super Bowl ring. It's so
Game
funny.
manager. He's the game manager.
He's the game man. So speaking of the Giants, like, do you think Eli Manning goes to the Hall of Fame?
Man, that's one of the toughest decisions. It's so hard. One of the hardest things for me is I think his record is exactly like 500
Yeah.
or like one over 500, whatever. He does have the two Super Bowls. The problem is I forget who said this in what sport, but I think it kind of holds true for any sport. If you're talking about a Hall of Famer, you have to be talking about somebody who was the greatest or one of the greatest at their position while they were doing it. Eli Manning was never really even considered like a top 3 or 5 quarterback. It's like he didn't have Hall of Fame talent. He had a Hall of Fame career.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Being a Giants fan, hell yeah. I want to see him. But if you're just looking at the statistics, if you're looking at it objectively, I mean, I think the 2 Super Bowls make it a yes. You have to put him in. He's got 2 Super Bowls. He was the MVP, I believe, for both, if I'm not mistaken. But the whole point is I think if you get 2 Super Bowls and you're the guy, right? He part of the reason they won those games. I think he's in.
Of course, okay, yeah, like that's a good, it's a really good topic. A lot of people talk about Eli, but I think he put enough numbers out there that he will, get that Hall of Fame, and plus of the name, Manning.
Hey, what about Vince Carter?
Vince Carter's a sure dunk.
But what did he do?
He has a lot of longevity got him in.
Isn't that? And I freaking love Vince Carter.
Yeah.
I love Vince Carter. I want to see him go into the Hall of Fame. But literally all he did, and he had some seasons where he scored 21, 22 points, but like 24 players are going to do that this year, right?
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to get at is that's not that hard. But he was never really the greatest player in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any titles. He doesn't have, I don't think, any scoring titles. He's not that great. He's not as good as, a Tracy McGrady or a Penny Hardaway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think all he did was play a really, really, really long time. If you look at Cal Ripken, if you look at Nolan Ryan, right, they get playing like just over 2 decades. They were great.
Yeah.
When they were at their peak, at their prime, they were the best at what they did. Vince Carter, I think that could be argued.
Okay, so if you're saying Vince Carter, what about like Grant Hill? Grant Hill made the Hall of Fame, right? He's the same type of player as in like longevity. Why Grant Hill's not a superstar. I mean, he's considered a superstar, but he's not a superstar.
Yeah, and I think, you know what? The Basketball Hall of Fame is not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So the fact that he has Olympic gold medals, he's in. Yeah. Yeah, 100% he's in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, so like switching topics, like this show, guys, this podcast is not scripted at all. Like this is all freestyle. We don't have I don't have anything like saying, oh, we're going to talk about this. Everything's on the friends. That's why it's all freestyling. That's why, hopefully you guys enjoy the show. The last thing I want to talk about, that comes to my mind is the big fight this weekend, UFC 246, Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone. And me and Oscar, we are big UFC fans, and we like to see good fights. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is sort of a little bit weird for me to watch this on who I want to win. Like
Mm-hmm.
like I want Donald Cerrone to win because Donald Cerrone is like the type of fighter that I enjoy watching. He's one of those guys that grinds it out and fights and does whatever the UFC says, and he's like, oh hell yeah, let's do this, let's fight, blah blah blah. But on the other hand, I love the UFC, and Conor McGregor is the UFC. Like he's the one. If you see the pay-per-view numbers, like the top 10 is all Conor McGregor, or top 7, whatever, is Conor
5 out of
McGregor.
6. It was
Yeah,
literally the
yeah,
top, and the only one that wasn't McGregor was UFC 100.
Yep,
That
exactly.
card, remember that card?
Yeah, I remember that card. Yeah. So like my heart is like saying, you know what, I want, I want Donald Cerrone to win, but then I don't because I want Connor to win because Connor will hype up the fight game, get fighters paid if they're on this card. Because literally, I just saw his YouTube interview with Ariel Helwani. He made $50 million on the Khabib fight. 50 million on the Khabib fight.
Wow,
That's
amazing.
freaking nuts, right? And then
Yeah.
he asked him, so what do you project on making in this fight? He's like 80 million. I'm like, $80 million he's gonna make on this fight.
Wow, that's fascinating.
So
Yeah.
think about that. If he's making 80 millions, how much is the UFC making? That's the question. So that's
Well,
why.
I don't think that's relative. So Conor McGregor, he gets paid a certain amount for the fight. Then he gets paid a percentage of the pay-per-views. But when he's talking about the money that he's going to be making, that's from all of the sponsorships, all of the sales of his products, all of the money going directly to him. Like, just for example, people may, anyway, you get the idea. So he's not making that much from the UFC. He's probably making, I don't even know. I'm not going to speculate, but he's definitely getting like a base, get X amount to show
Yeah,
up, which is probably a couple million. And then he's probably getting, X amount of dollars per pay per view buy. And then it may end there. I know most UFC contracts, when you're the man, like, Anderson Silva, Chuck Liddell, when they were making their big money, they were getting pay per view, a part of the pay per view. So that's where the big money comes from the fighter. But there's no way he's making even half of that from the UFC. My guess is it's all sponsorships,
yeah,
part.
sponsorship. Yeah, probably
You know,
sponsorship and partnership. But that's
yeah.
why the drawing it because so the advertisements are paying Connor for certain things, but at the same
Mhm.
time, advertisers are paying the UFC also because they need to put the
Yeah,
brand out there on the ring. If you have the
yeah,
ring, they have all
yeah,
the monsters
absolutely.
and all this other stuff that they have. UFC is gonna get paid for it. All the
Yeah.
press conferences that Connor goes, he don't get paid for the press conferences.
Mm.
UFC does. UFC gets all the advertising for all the press conferences,
Yeah.
so
And all the
they're gonna get paid
placement,
for
all the
that.
views. Yeah,
Yeah, so every time they show Conor McGregor, the UFC is going to benefit for that,
yeah,
So that's why it brings a lot of people to come out, and you see that's why the numbers go crazy. They go from this like $50,000 pay per view buys to $1 million pay per view buy because Conor McGregor. That's the gap is just sick. That's
yeah,
how sick the gap is.
yeah.
So so like
It's pretty fascinating when you look at no one has been able to do in the UFC. And the UFC has been around for over 30 years. And then Conor McGregor comes in, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's the fact that he's from Ireland and there's a lot of fight history in Ireland, and he was kind of the first big name. But what he did and how he did it, he really changed the UFC game and maybe MMA as far as just marketability, income. Nobody was making anything even close to what he was making when he first got here. His
exactly.
first, say, after his fourth or fifth fight, whatever it was.
Exactly. So like after the Jose Aldo fight, pretty much he just blew up. Like he's a king. Like he made all this money and he's trying to get ownership, money also and things like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's why. So like you all know how I feel. What do you feel? Who do you think's gonna win? Like, how do you want it to go down?
Mhm.
And what's
Yeah,
your thoughts on the
I
fight?
think for me, I've always been kind of a Conor McGregor hater. I just like the guys who just talk and talk and talk. Kill Son, and he used to be my least favorite fighter in the whole UFC. So I hope Conor McGregor loses. At the same time, the UFC is struggling. They actually need McGregor. They need him to do well. They need his pay-per-view buys and so on. So I feel like McGregor is going to basically win. Cerrone's been on a little bit of a bad streak.
Yeah, lost his last two.
Yeah, he's lost his last two. UFC needs McGregor to win. McGregor's had a little bit of a break. He should come back real hungry after losing to Khabib. So I think McGregor takes it. Who do I want to win? I'm gonna he wins. I freaking love Cerrone.
Yeah.
Cerrone, let me ask you this. In the history of the UFC, and I'm not asking this question like I know the answer. I know Cerrone's one of them.
Yeah.
In the history of the UFC, name a fighter who has put more into it, given his all, showed up at any fight. He's filled in for cancellations in like a day or two. Like he's never ducked anyone. He's always at the top of the contenders. Like Cerrone has had a great, great, great career, but what I really, really love about him is I just feel like he is a warrior. He's a fighter, and this for him is more than just about the money. So I hope he wins. I'd love to see it, but I think McGregor takes it. It's going to be I hate to say it, but I think it's going to be a somewhat easy fight for McGregor.
Yeah, it's funny because I watched that. They always do the promotion of the a couple years ago when they had the press conference with everybody and Donald Cerrone was behind and Conor McGregor was talking and then Donald Cerrone talked to him about like if you come up here I'm gonna slap you whatever and then Conor McGregor pretty much repeated. He said that you're stiff as a board. I'll snap you in half. And when he said that, and I'm like, dude, actually that is pretty damn true because Conor McGregor is very, he's, very fast, very strong, and Donald Cerrone is very stiff. He stands tall, and it's gonna clip him, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about him getting clipped and getting knocked out. But
Well, see, this is the problem: is Cerrone will stand there and bang,
exactly,
and as far as standing there and banging, who's better than McGregor in that weight class? So I think Cerrone is gonna want to prove that he can fight. That's McGregor's strength. McGregor's coming off a break. Cerrone's coming off two losses. I mean, let's hope for the underdog, but it's not looking great for Cerrone.
yeah, that's crazy because Cerrone just had an interview also, and he pretty much just said, yeah, I want to stand up, I want to stand up and bang. So I was like, oh my god. So okay, so that's gonna be an interesting fight. So we're looking forward to that. The rest of the card, I'm not really too care about it. Holly Holm and Pennington, whatever. It's like everything else is whatever to me. Like nothing else really interests me. Even though I'm a big UFC fan, nothing really interests me except the big fight. I think that's what like a lot of the Fairweather fans are. They just like the big main event. I think that's what I'm starting turning into a little bit. But at the same time, I do enjoy watching all the fights, and hopefully I do really want to see if McGregor wins, which I think he will win. I want him to fight like Jorge Masvidal or Usman for the belt to just to make him the three belt champion. I always root for the three belt champions. Like if you want it for two belts, I root for it. Three belt, go for it. Like do the three belts, and something that's never been done. So he was the first one to do the champ thing with two semi-tation time of getting the two belts at once. So if he gets three belts, like he had three belts, and that's gonna be the first. So that's gonna be pretty interesting.
In regards to what you're saying, and if you're looking to wrap up, just let me know. In regards to what you're saying about the UFC, there was kind of like a real big storm that hit the UFC several years back where Ronda lost, John Jones kept getting suspended. And I think maybe the biggest mistake was Dana White just kept letting go all of the older Hall of Famers, all of the people that helped grow and build the UFC, whether it was Chuck Liddell or BJ Penn or Tito Ortiz, and he kept treating them like trash. And I literally mean trash. Like he kept just trying to throw them away. They're too old to fight. They need to retire. Those were the people who built that product, who built that brand. And you know what? If Chuck Liddell decides that he wants to fight at 37 or 38 and he's slow and he's fighting Tito Ortiz at 37 or 38, and you know what? It's good entertainment. I'd rather see it under the UFC brand than making them look like old has-beens in Bellator. Dana White hurt the UFC brand by managing it the way he did. And that's why since they sold, I think about 3.5 years ago, right about, I believe it's 5 out of the bottom 20 all-time UFC pay-per-view events. I believe it's 4 or 5 of the bottom 20, the lowest 20 in sales, have happened since the sale of the UFC.
Wow, that's a pretty
Pretty
interesting.
amazing.
That is a pretty
Yeah.
amazing stat there. Yeah, I think Dana White just he's more of a cash guy. He wants to make money, and he feels that getting rid of the old guys is not going to be profitable for him, and he wants to keep the hype of the Ronda Rouseys, the Conor McGregors, because the has-beens he's throw them away. He wants to bring a new guy that can sell tickets pretty much. So he felt
And
that
also
those
cost a lot less.
yeah. So he think he like got rid of those guys to bring up these new people to sell tickets, and that's it's about
Could you
business.
imagine the NBA right now going, LeBron James, he's just too old. Who else has been around forever? I don't. Vince Carter, he needs to retire. He should just stop playing. Could you imagine the NBA started saying that about the biggest stars that have been around for the last 20 years?
Yeah.
Like how the NBA treat Dwayne Wade gets a freaking tour. Kobe Bryant, he announces he's retiring, and every single arena gives him a standing ovation. Like, that's how you treat your superstars. That's how you treat the people who built your company. And funny thing is by doing that, you're actually going to build stronger, grow more, and make more revenue if you actually did that and took care of the people who built your company and treated them like the legends and the Hall of Famers that they are.
Yeah, true. I sort of agree with you on that. Yeah, but I think he doesn't do it with all of them. But I think it's probably the relationship that he has with certain older, you know, pioneer fighters. I guess that because Dana White's one of the things. Oh, you want to say shit about me? You're done. He's one of
Yeah.
those guys like
The
if you
other
don't treat him
problem.
good, and he'll now treat you bad. So that's how he rolls with that. But anyways, yeah, I don't want to keep you too long. This has been a good podcast. Thank you, Oscar, for coming on, and definitely, hopefully, you can come back again. We'll talk about more different things. Another note: do you have any like social media thing that you want to give a shout out or anything that you have that you want to plug?
Oh, good. You know me. I like to keep to myself. So I appreciate it. Definitely fun. I love the memories that you started off with. That was unexpected. Like you said, totally unscripted. So it was fun for sure. Thank you.
All right, cool, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like, hit the subscribe, and see you guys again next time. Peace out.